Hello and welcome back. Today we are looking at our next intuitive senses. We're specifically going into module 5, where we take a deeper dive into clairsentience and claircognizance. Let's share my slides with you and let's begin right away. So for today's overview, by the end of today's session, you are going to have a better understanding of clairsentience, which is also known as clear feeling. We're also going to take a deep dive into claircognizance, which is clear knowing. So by the end of today's session, you're going to have a better understanding of how these two particular clairs might be relevant to you. We're also going to discover your dominant intuitive sense, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how to develop your weaker senses. Let's start with clairsentience, which is really about feeling the messages. And the definition of this is receiving guidance through emotions, energy, or physical sensations. Now, some examples of these are that we might feel a sudden warmth or tingling when an angel is near. You might feel a sense of calm or reassurance, or even nudges, perhaps even towards taking some action. You might get empathic sensations about someone else's energy or needs. You can get gut feelings about something that might feel a little bit off, or it might feel absolutely right. You might get a sense of emotional waves that carry information, or physical sensations in specific body areas. So do pay attention to that. So how can you recognize that in yourself? Well, you might recognize that you do have a lot of empathy. You might feel other people's emotions. You know that feeling that you get when someone's really happy or even really down and they're not telling you what's going on? You might get gut feelings that prove to be accurate. And you can be affected by the energy of places. For example, if you go to a very old house or maybe a haunted house, you can get a sense of maybe what happened there. You can also feel physical sensations when making decisions. How then can you develop this clairsentience? Let's look at some practical tips. You might pause and notice bodily reactions when making decisions. Is it something that you automatically get a sense of that, yes, this feeling is right or wrong? And I'd like you to practice energy sensing. You might hold your hands near objects, for example. Can you get a feeling from a particular object? Do keep a feelings journal. Write it down. That's how you get more familiar with what's going on within your senses, and this one as well. And notice where in your body you feel guidance. And that can definitely vary. Is it in your gut? Is it in your chest? Is it in your head? Where does that go? And you might even like to ask your angels to send those feelings to you that you might be able to recognize. So do practice those to really hone this particular gift. That brings us on to claircognizance, which is that just knowing. And the definition of this is that you might receive guidance through knowledge or inner certainty. And some examples of this are that spontaneous idea, that light bulb moment, or insight that feels divinely inspired. Again, it's like a gut knowing that something is right or wrong. You might notice a little bit of an overlap here between claircognizance and clairsentience with that gut feeling. You might get instant clarity about what steps to take next, or you might even get downloads of information that come totally complete. Like if you've always wanted to write a book and all of a sudden you just know what has to go into that book. And those downloads might come even during dreams or in the middle of the night. You might have an awareness. It could even be during the day. So do pay attention. And again, you might want to journal when you get your knowing. When is it the most prominent? You might also find that you know things that you don't even know how you know. It's just there. How then can you recognize it in yourself? Well, like I said, you just know things and ideas may come to you fully formed. Think like the book example. Or, especially for guys, my husband seems to be particularly good at this. All of a sudden, he just knows how to fix something. It's really quite weird, but definitely. You might also find yourself being able to make quick, accurate decisions, and they might not even necessarily be based on logic. And I'm going to ask you to really pay attention to your clairs, because your logic might be sitting over there telling you to do one thing, and your senses, your inner senses, might be saying, actually, do this. And do you know the amount of times that I followed logic and not my senses? Guess which one was right and guess which one was wrong? I think you only need one guess, because I'm sure it's happened to you as well. Your inner gut, your knowing, is going to be the one that's going to give you the most accurate information pretty much most of the time. And with that, you might even have sudden insights or epiphanies, and you're decisive and you trust your knowing. And it's those moments when people might say to you, yeah, but how do you know that? Well, yeah, it's just because I know that is absolutely the right thing to do. And the more you trust, the more you can absolutely believe and make better decisions for yourself going forward. How can we then develop our claircognizance? Well, you definitely want to trust the intuitive hits, even if they seem to come out of nowhere. You want to write down those ideas pretty much immediately. Have a pen and paper beside your bed, that if you get those hits in the middle of the night, you can write them down and review them in the morning. Here's a really important tip. Don't second guess your first knowing. The first one is the best one. And notice the patterns in when you just know. You might also ask your angels for some intuitive insights into clear knowing. Get them to show you what that feels like, what that looks like, what that comes out like. All right? So do trust that. How then can you discover your dominant sense? Well, most people have one, possibly two primary senses, but all four can be developed. Now, there's no need for you to put pressure on yourself to think, oh, I have to develop all four of my senses. No, you don't. And your dominant sense is how angels will communicate most clearly. So do remember that. Take the pressure off yourself. Work with the one or two senses, at least to start off with, that you know are your strongest. So honor those natural gifts. And you might like to practice your weaker senses, yes, at some point, to round out your abilities. As part of today's module, there is a quiz. So do look into the module notes and your resources. There is a quiz that actually gives you insights into your dominant sense. And you can use that as a fabulous starting point to really see where angels and how they communicate with you. And you probably find that you'll have that aha moment where you go, now everything makes perfect sense. Well, I hope you do. Anyway. And And that takes us to the end of today's session and our last slide on reflection. You now know more about clairsentience and claircognizance, and you should also now be able to recognize these senses in yourself. In the next module, we'll be preparing for connection, and you'll also gain an introductory understanding of clearing your physical and energetic space. You'll have some grounding techniques, we'll do some setting intentions and overcoming blocks. Until then, I invite you to journal and put some notations into your workbook. Which of these senses do you connect with most strongly? And how do angels communicate with you with these particular senses? Remember to please put an accountability post into the school group. Let us know how you're going with these modules and in particular what you have discovered about yourself. Until the next module, I look forward to seeing you there.